and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys. And doesn't it feel fantastic to be back in the Champions League quarterfinals? We're in the last 8 again, and today we're going to be talking about all of the big performances that have taken us here. And there were plenty in last night's game. La Masia was shining very brightly indeed. Pau Cubarsi, what a player, what a performance, so much to talk about. And we've got to talk about Xavi too, because he deserves it in my opinion, and he certainly had a strong message for the media after the game last night. And along with all of these special moments, and there were many, we're also going to find some time too to talk about some substitutions from last night's game. The full breakdown is coming up for you, the full celebrations are here, so come on and let's do this. Because today I do want to give a special shout out here to Thomas, who actually broke his ankle during the comeback celebrations against PSG all those years ago. And I'm wondering, how is that ankle doing right now? Was it tested in last night's game? And I want to give a special shout out too to Christian's little sister here, who's a huge Barca fan, and I'm sure that she was watching last night and that she enjoyed every bit of that performance. And a huge thank you indeed to all of you guys right now on the super thanks, and I really appreciate all of your great support for being here with me today. And I would just like to start by saying that a game like this, a night like this, is why we do it. This is why we do it, guys, because throughout the season here and throughout many years here at Barca, the going has gotten tough. We have had some very difficult, very turbulent, very emotional moments, and we've had to suffer. And when you're going through those moments there, whereby Barca, we know they're capable of ruining a whole day. They're capable of ruining a whole weekend, even whole weeks and months. And you think, why? You think, why do I let it affect me? Why do I continue to do that? Why do I care so much? This is why. This is why. A night like this, you can't replicate this feeling anywhere. You cannot get this from anywhere else. And this is what comes from caring. This is what comes from the passion that we all have for this club. The hope, the excitement, the energy of this team that it can give you. And on Tuesday night we saw it. We have been waiting a long time. We have been hoping upon hope that they could do that. And they did. Out there in the Champions League, they didn't let us down. And those Barca players, they made us proud. And I do have to say, guys, on last night's game, starting from the very beginning, I did not realise how much I missed the noise. The real energy that we felt last night inside of the stadium. And an occasion like this, it was really special. It felt as though we could easily be back at the Camp Nou last night. It was an absolutely incredible atmosphere. And ain't the noise after that first goal hit the back of the net? Wow, just wow, the whole feeling of it there. And credit to Fermin Lopez, by the way. It was a big night for him last night. Xavi calling upon him from the start, and he delivered. He delivered so much energy right throughout the time he was on the field there, and he's had to come through a bit of criticism over the past few games, so really, really big game from him. And what about the second goal? And I think the way that it happened in such quick-fire nature, it was electric. Everybody was just on fire in that period there. We were passing the ball around. We were pressing like absolute animals, and the stadium, it was going absolutely crazy there once that second goal hit. And Cancelo, by the way, when he is in full flow, when you've got some protection as well behind him, he is absolutely unstoppable in the final third there. He is as good in that area as any attacker. Genuinely, he has so much ability, and we've got to utilise that. We have to make sure that we're getting him into all of the right positions, because he can hurt genuinely any team in the world on either side as well. And I think there's one thing that we have to stress as well, because people will come to us and they'll say, well, Napoli, they're not the strongest opponent ever. Barca here will have more difficult tasks ahead of them. They will have tougher times to come, and all of that may or may not be true. But what you also can't forget here is, number one, you can only beat what's in front of you, which we did last night. We were the team that deserved to go through over the two legs without any question. But also, number two here, you can't forget, this is a Barca team without so many of our key players. You look into the stands last night, you've got Pedri up there, you've got Xavi, you've got Frank de Jong. We have had there, sitting in the stands, 3 world-class midfielders that have been taken out of our team. You've got Alejandro Balde, who's out there with a long-term injury, and Ferran Torres now has been missing for several weeks as well. So this wasn't Barca at full strength. This was not an ideal dream scenario that we were in. But we didn't make any excuses. Every single player last night who was called upon, who was out there in a Barcelona shirt, they did their job. They really applied themselves in every area. And you look at it right here. You've got Ter Stegen, made big saves throughout the game. You've got in that back line Araujo. You've got Koundé. Those two have been so solid recently. Araujo there at centre-back. Koundé at right-back has been absolutely rejuvenated. Christensen has done incredibly well adapting to that midfield role. It's not his favourite position, but he's applying himself there. You've got Gundogan, who brought the experience, who calmed the game down when needed, and Lamine Yamal was a constant threat on the right side. But I want to talk more about Raphinha, because I want to talk more here about what he brought to the game last night, and the performance that, again, he put in from a different kind of position, because we saw flashes of this, by the way, against Mallorca. We could see there that we were trying him out in a midfield role in a more central area, and just to see what he could produce. And it was unpredictable. It was certainly there a different energy about Raphinha in a more central position. And against Napoli, he was more towards the left-hand side. He was more there, you could say, towards being a winger. But he certainly wasn't playing there. Cancelo was the man that was wide, that was really hugging that left touchline. Raphinha was inside of him. He was playing in the spaces. And I gotta say, he was incredibly important in so many of the good areas of our game yesterday. Because when you think of the goals, when you think about the chances that we're creating, the dangers that we caused Napoli, Raphinha was there or thereabouts. He was involved in all of them in some way. And we know that he's got these performances in him. We know that he has their big clutch moments in his locker. You think back to last season, he provided some absolutely crucial goals, crucial assists there in really big moments of our La Liga season. He was a big part of us even winning that title, and that is what you want there. You want your players in the big moments, in the high-pressured games, to bring their best level, and we saw that last night from Raphinha in a Champions League game where the pressure was on, where we needed a spark, we were lacking in creativity from midfield, and he really helped to bridge that gap. And I do believe, guys, that this kind of role suits his skill set so much more, because there's absolutely no way at all that you would have seen him have the kind of impact he did last night if you'd have played him at right wing. No question about it. He would not have been able to do what he was doing last night. You would see here, he didn't have to dribble. There was no need for him here to be in tight spaces, to be in 1-versus-1 battles. He doesn't thrive in those positions. Those are not really his out-and-out strengths. But you release him a bit, you give him a bit more freedom, you give him their space to run, and he can make things happen. We saw that last night there. He was able to create chances, very nearly scored, getting shots away at goal. And Raphinha, he was lively, he was energetic, he worked hard. You always know he's going to give his maximum, and last night was a top performance from him. But speaking, though, about top performances, wow, we have to talk about Pau Cubarsi. Now, this young man, I'm struggling to find the words to describe him. I am struggling to understand here how all of this has happened, because he came from nowhere. And he's dominating. He is absolutely dominating at the heart of our defence. And I just want to say here, usually when you get young defensive talents, or actually most defenders, not even young defenders, let's just say most defenders, usually they either have quality on the ball, they can either there play at the back at such a high level, or they're great defenders. They show quality there in the defensive side of their game. Well, let me tell you now, Pau Cubarsi, he has it all. He genuinely has everything in his locker that you would want in a centre-back. He's got it in abundance. And I just cannot believe last night how calm he was. This is a Champions League quarter-final. It's a win or go home game. And he's just out there, strolling, strutting his stuff there, playing the ball around, pinging passes all over the pitch. And then, when he's in a battle with Victor Osimhen, one of the most feared, one of the most sought-after strikers right now in the world, He pocketed him. He had him in his pocket. Cubarsi was incredible, and that is why at the end of the game, he gets the player of the match award. Of course he does. He was absolutely extraordinary, not only for his age, but just in general. And I think Xavi said it best, no question about that, when he said after the game, my pulse does not go up when Cubarsi has the ball, and that is the best summary for him. And I could not have said it any better at all. You can't help but trust him when he's in possession of the ball there, when he's defending against attackers. You count on him. You feel as though he has got our back. And that is what we saw last night. And it was even more impressive because don't forget, he was on the left side of defence. That was the side there that Cancelo was getting forward, was staying really high up the field. So Cubarsi had to be aware. He had to understand the spaces there that were being left behind. He had to be high up the pitch too. He had to take a few risks. And he was just absolutely exemplary. And I just want to say, guys, how on earth are La Masia doing it? Every few months right now, we're just spawning a new world-class talent. It is unbelievable what we are seeing. And like we keep saying, when we need it most, when the club is struggling, when we can't go out and sign big players, big money, bring them in, who is delivering? Who is providing us with homegrown talent, with heart, with pride, with identity towards this club? It's La Masia. Time and time and time again, they come to our rescue, and we can never, ever forget on that. This is what we bet on. This is what we bank on. This is what we trust in here, because this is an academy here that is shaping players to be ready for this club, to play for this badge, because I don't just like the quality of the La Masia players that we have right now, the sheer quality that they possess on the football field. I love their hunger. I love their intensity. I love their sheer will to win and do everything possible for this club. And I want to say as well, guys, there was a really nice moment at the end of the game here. You can see all the Barcelona players, they're jumping up and down, they're celebrating with the fans. Lovely, lovely moment. And actually you could see that Xavi was really trying to join in. We know that he has a knee injury, that he's still recovering from that. Obviously he's got to be careful, so he wasn't able to jump with the rest of the team. Fermin Lopez saw that, went over to Xavi, picked him up, and he joined in with the celebrations. And that right there, that's what this group is. It's so tight-knit. It is so together. It has a bond, and that is what you get here from having so many players that actually care, that want to be at this club, that aren't here for the money. They're not earning huge, massive wages anymore. They're here because they love Barça and because they want to win in these colours. But of course, guys, we've got to talk about the man that has helped put all of this together. We have to talk here about the man that has led this project. Let's talk about Xavi, because I have to say here, hand on heart, I am genuinely so happy for him that he had this night, that he had here this moment with the team, because obviously it's been a tough season. Obviously there for him personally, he's had to deal with a lot from the media, from us fans as well at times, and so much so that he's decided that Barca need a change at the end of the season and that he needs a break from all of this. So look, who could blame him? But I'm sure he'll remember these nights. I am sure that when he took the Barcelona job, this was what he had in mind. This was what he wanted to experience as the head coach. And I just want to say here that no matter what happens with Xavi at the end of the season, there are so many fond memories that are going to be left behind, and some really, really special ones that we will always cherish. But I also want to say here, guys, that what Xavi will leave behind is an incredible foundation. And that is what he's built at this club. That is what he has certainly massively contributed towards here. When you look throughout this team, at the younger players here, at the nucleus of this team, the players who've been brought through, who've been trusted in, who really there have been given their big break at Barca, and that's what he's leaving behind. Such a talented, such a special, such a unique group of players there, and a wonderful, wonderful dressing room. And Xavi can be proud of that. No matter what happens, we are all incredibly grateful to Xavi for all of that work. And I guess it was kind of inevitable that after the game, in typical fashion there from the media, they talked about his future. They asked Xavi there about what his plans are at the end of the season. But Xavi responded really passionately, because do not forget that even before this game started, like we spoke about before it, there were rumours that he could be sacked if he lost this game. Journalists there were asking him in the pre-match press conference about it, even before this game started. And so after the win, Xavi, was asked if he would stay, and he responded, "Today, this victory doesn't change anything about my future." He said, because if I had lost today, you would have been saying that I should be sacked, that I should be out on the street. He said, this is all too emotional. He said, we need to calm down. And then he went on to say there that you keep on asking me if I will stay, even if we win the Champions League. He said, no, I will not. I'll say it again, I will not. My future won't change. My response won't change. I will leave at the end of the season, and I'll enjoy the Champions League next year. But as a fan. So Xavi here, he keeps insisting upon it. He keeps repeating the same answer over and over again. He's not staying. He has made up his mind to leave, and now he's just focusing on having the best possible ending. He is focusing here on continuing this Champions League journey as long as possible. The players out there last night, they're desperate to give him that. They want to give him a special farewell. They've given him a special night. They've given all of us a special moment. And how far can we go from here? Because I would like, though, to talk about some of these substitutions, or maybe some lack of them as well in last night's game. Because let's start by saying here that Sergio Roberto, he was outstanding. He came on and he did actually change the game. There is no two ways about that, and we have to be very fair here in our assessment of him. He was a genuinely calming influence on the field. I thought he came on, he played with authority, he played with confidence, with know-how, with experience, of course. We know that he has a huge wealth of experience in his locker, but he was also exciting, actually. You know, the way that he was passing, moving then, we saw that, of course, leading to the third goal. It was certainly a really inspired performance there from another player that has, of course, suffered some major criticism. But, well, on the other sub, though, on 60 minutes, kind of a different story, guys. And obviously, I don't want to hear just pile on Oriol Romeo, but we have to be honest and say that was absolutely woeful, because every other player last night was outstanding. Every other player really did pull their weight. They contributed. They added something to the game. Romeo came on, and it was just a disaster class. It really, really was. He very nearly gifted Napoli a goal by literally passing the ball to them on the edge of his own box. He gave them the ball. Napoli nearly scored. I was covering my eyes, actually, as that game went on. Every time Romeo got the ball, he didn't know what was going to happen. So that really wasn't good. But obviously, like I say, we were limited in midfield. We were down to the bare bones. But also, of course, guys, don't forget, no Vitor Roque again. Not a single minute out there for Vitor Roque. And of course, we could say that everything went very well. There was no real need to bring him on. There was no need to mess around with things. But I did feel as though Lewandowski did struggle in certain parts of yesterday's game, because I think that obviously he got the all-important third goal. He was in the right place at the right time to get the pass from Roberto. He was also key as well, let me say, in the first goal. He actually distracted Napoli there, stepping over the ball at the right time. He was very, very key in those areas. But in terms of our pressing, he did struggle. You know, we were very energetic in this game. We came out the blocks really strongly, and everybody was sprinting around there, really making sure that we piled the pressure on Napoli. But Lewandowski couldn't really match that energy of those around him. And it's understandable. The guy is 35 years old. We can't expect him to be sprinting around the field like a 21-year-old, but you have got a young man on the bench. You know, you have got Vitor Roque there who's waiting, who's hoping for an opportunity. When Lewandowski needed a bit of a breather, he could have come on. So that is going to be something we're going to be keeping an eye on now against Atleti, and then in the matches that go beyond this one. Obviously, it's difficult to get anything perfect in any game, but I think the overriding message here and the overriding feeling from this match, of course it's joy. Of course we have every right here to be incredibly happy, because we waited so long. You know, do not let, guys, anybody take this away from you. Do not let anyone tell you, oh, you can't be happy. You can't be happy just with reaching the quarter-final. You're not allowed to be happy after beating Napoli. Yes, we are. And yes, we're going to be. Whether you like it or not, we're celebrating this win. We are happy to be back in the final 8. And now we await the draw. Now we can sit back, we can enjoy the journey, and see what is coming next for this special club. Do let me know, guys, in the comments down below here, your further thoughts from the game, your analysis there of what we saw, and who were your standout performance from last night's match. And if you had to pick right now, who would you want in the quarter-final of the Champions League? Let me know down below. Thank you for all of your great support and for tuning in here for more extended coverage of the big match. I will catch you soon, of course, but until next time, as always, Vishka El Barça!